Former federal prosecutor Gene Rossi joins me now. Welcome to the show.
Oh, thanks for having me.
Yeah. So, we now know the punishment for Derek Chauvin, 22.5 years. The family of George Floyd calling this a victory because it is the longest sentence for a police officer in Minnesota, but also that it should have been the maximum sentence. What's your take, Gene? Fitting for the crime?
Well, I think this is a historic case with historic evidence. It is probably the longest sentence for a police officer in Minnesota and could be one of the longest sentences in America. Is it an appropriate sentence? I think the Judge Cahill in this case was very thoughtful. The sentencing guidelines for Minnesota called for about 12 and a half years, and he departed upward to 22 and a half. And that was close to what the government wanted. The prosecutors wanted 30 years. So was it the 30 years that the prosecutors wanted? No, but it was close. And I think Mr. Chauvin is in his 40s. So if he spends the next 22 years in prison, that's going to take a lot out of him. It's not a true death sentence, but it is significant and it should be downplayed. Here's the other thing about Mr. Chauvin. He is facing a trial at the federal level. The U.S. Department of Justice, where I worked for many years, they're probably going to charge him and try him with criminal civil rights violations. So that he's facing another battle that could be consecutive in terms of a sentence if he is convicted.
Right, Gene, and you speak of this other battle. I mean, Chauvin finally broke his silence, extending his condolences to the Floyd family. Could you talk about the legal strategy behind that? First, the reasons for keeping quiet all through his trial, and now, during the sentencing, these few words.
Well, Gerald, there's no mystery as to why he remained silent during his trial. If he had taken the stand, he would have been subject to a vicious cross-examination by one of the prosecutors. And he had a lot of baggage in his background in addition to this George Floyd murder. He had about 17 instances of alleged police misconduct, and he would have been cross-examined on that. So him not saying anything during the trial was probably the right thing to do. Now at the sentencing, his allocution, as they call it, when a defendant makes a statement at a sentencing, it's called an allocution. His statement at the sentencing today was just downright bizarre. He said he had other information that would give the Floyd family, quote, peace of mind, unquote. Frankly, I don't know what he is talking about. That was a very strange thing for a defendant to say who just got sentenced or was about to be sentenced for 22 years.
I was about to ask you that same thing. But Gene, you know, the criminal justice system has historically been lenient to police officers charged with killing someone while on duty. How do you think this case and the sentencing might affect the practices of law enforcement going forward?
That's an outstanding question. What's remarkable about this case is not just that he was found guilty of manslaughter, third-degree murder, and second-degree murder. Those are three significant counts, but he got a very, I think, a tough sentence of 22 years if you compare it to what other officers are getting when they're sentenced if they are charged. There are many times when there's police misconduct, they investigate and they don't even charge. So I know the Floyd family is in pain. They're hurting. They wanted a tougher sentence. But if you compare it to what has happened in the past in terms of sentences, and that oftentimes a police officer will not even be charged, this is indeed a historic case.